Have you ever been in this spot? You see someone close to you that's really struggling. It feels like the world is out to get them, and nothing that they do is right. They're being criticized left, right, and center by everyone, and their whole life feels like Murphy's Law in action, where they're completely overwhelmed and where everything that could go wrong is going wrong. So you decide to help them out. You decide to do something that makes their life a little bit easier. And in the process, you make things a billion times worse. In your efforts to be a good Samaritan and a good loved one, you just made the situation explode completely out of control. Maybe you see that their office is messy with papers everywhere, so you take it upon yourself to organize the papers, thinking that it'll make things easier. Instead, the papers were where they were for a reason, and now your colleague has no idea what goes where and where he left off. Maybe you heard that your friend was being mistreated by someone, so you decide to personally confront that person. And now, what was a complete misunderstanding is a full-on war. You get the idea. You try to do something to help someone else out, and you only make things worse for them and make them seem even less equipped to handle the situation than before. Well, I bring all of that up because this man that you've been watching this entire time is Atlanta Falcons head coach Dan Henning. And in 1983, the man replaced Lehman Bennett as the head coach of the organization. To say that things did not go well for Henning to start off his time would be putting it lightly, as the team went 7-9 in 1983 and 4-12 in 1984, missing the playoffs both years despite making it in 3 of the previous 5 years under Bennett. Many people thought that the 1985 season was a make-or-break year for Henning, which makes sense, seeing as most coaches are given 3 years to right the ship and show some sort of improvement. And if they can't do it after 3 years, then the organization moves on and finds someone else. And this isn't speculation or trying to drum up drama that wasn't there. Prior to the start of the 1985 season, Falcons owner Rankin Smith flat out said that Henning was gone if the Falcons weren't better. Henning was in the 3rd year of a 3-year contract, and as Smith said, if he continues to have a losing record, he's probably going to get fired. He knows that. You've got to produce, or else you've had it. Now, that's not to say that anyone really had expectations for the Falcons heading into the 1985 season, as they were a plus 10,000 odds to win the Super Bowl, which was tied with the Colts, Saints, and Eagles for the worst odds of any team going into the season. But after a disastrous 4-12 campaign in 1984, where the Falcons finished 22nd out of 28 teams in total offense and total defense, and ended the season losing 9 of their final 10 games, it was clear that Henning was going to have to find some way to turn things around. Alas, he did not. Not even close. The Falcons started the season off with an abysmal 0-6 record, and by the time Week 14 rolled around, the team was 2-12, sitting tied with the Buffalo Bills and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for the worst record in the league. Through 14 weeks, the Falcons had a point differential of minus 139. Not only was that the worst point differential in the league, but the next closest team was 36 points away from them. So the Falcons were comfortably at the bottom, being the only team to be outscored by an average of double digits each game. The Falcons had an abysmal defense, allowing 357 points through the first 14 games, coming out to over 25.5 points per game. For some perspective, not only was this the worst defense in the league, but the defense was so bad that only 4 other teams had allowed over 300 points across the season thus far. And here were the Falcons allowing 357. Their offense also stunk, as they averaged just a hair over 15 points per game, which was near the bottom of the league. And we wouldn't know it at the time of this story because it came during Week 14. But by the time the season ended, the Falcons would finish the season 26 out of 28 teams in points scored. They were the worst team defensively and a bottom 3 team offensively. It's almost impossible to regress on a 4-12 season where you were 22nd out of 28 teams in offense and defense. But the Falcons found a way, as when you allow 30 or more points in 8 of your first 14 games, including a 3-game stretch where you allow 36 points per game, you're probably not going to be a good team, as you can tell from all of these lowlights. By this point, after the season, it was clear that Dan Henning's seat was flaming hot, and for good reason. We were 14 weeks into the season, and when you tally up Henning's record from when he took over the team in 1983 to now, he was just 13-33, winning just 28% of his games. It gets even worse when you realize that he was not only dealing with back-to-back seasons of 12-plus losses, but that the Falcons started 3-3 in 1984, meaning that across Henning's last 20 games, he was just 3-17, with none of the wins coming with the Falcons' 5 or fewer games within a 500 record. Combine that with a complete mishandling of the quarterback situation between David Archer, Steve Bartkowski, and Bob Holly, where no one knew what the heck was going on, and where every quarterback seemed to be completely surprised and thrown off guard with whatever Henning was doing on a weekly basis. And yeah, the Falcons were an absolute mess, with Dan Henning being the ringleader of this dumpster fire. It even got to the point where Rankin Smith had to issue the dreaded vote of confidence, where he said, "We're not going to make a change, even if we're 0-15. I don't think it would serve any purpose to make a change mid-season." But after the season was over, everything was on the table, with the debate around Atlanta being whether to keep Henning and give him a 4th season despite no signs of improvement and despite attendance dropping and seemingly hitting new lows every single week, or to can him and hire someone else. And one person in particular was adamant, despite this poor season that you're watching right now, that not only was Dan Henning the right man for the job, and that not only were the Falcons not far off from competing, but that the whole city of Atlanta is out to get him, and the media is conducting a witch hunt to try and force him out. The fans and media shouldn't be criticizing Henning, because criticism is getting this team nowhere, and there truly is a light at the end of the tunnel if everyone would just stop being so negative. As the letter said in the Atlanta Constitution, I am very disappointed in the coverage of the Atlanta Falcons by all forms of the media. Sports writers and broadcasters always seem to have negative attitudes, and nothing that the Falcons staff does can please them. I'm going to pause it right there and say that, yeah, I'm not surprised that no one's happy. You want it to be sunshine and rainbows when the team is 2-12 and is 13-33 in Henning's 3 seasons with the organization? That's just delusional. It's a results-oriented business, and the Falcons aren't getting any results. If anything, they're getting worse. It's not a nitpick and being overly critical to say that the Falcons suck. If anything, that might be too kind, especially when they have the worst record in the league, and especially when the owner said at the start of the season that Henning would be out if he kept losing. Yet, he's still here despite a league-worst 2-12 record. The letter continues, saying, for example, no one ever seemed to like Steve Bartkowski until he was replaced by David Archer. Now, everyone wants Bartkowski back. What the heck do you mean no one ever seemed to like Bartkowski? The man made 2 Pro Bowls. The man's a legend and is currently in the Falcons' Ring of Honor. He might be the greatest quarterback in Falcons history, not counting Matt Ryan. The man got votes for MVP in 1980 after leading the league in touchdown passes. That's like, hypothetically, if Matthew Stafford gets off to a horrible start in 2026, so he gets replaced by Ty Simpson, and you say that no one ever seemed to like Stafford in Los Angeles. Objectively, that's not true. Your argument is that no one in this town knows what they want, except they want to be negative all the time. Yet, number one, they have every right to be negative when the team sucks and is getting worse. And number two, your logic is very, very flawed. However, the letter continues, saying, the Falcons are a good football team with a fine coaching staff. Yep, they're a good football team. They're so good that they're 3-17 in their last 20 games. If the Falcons are a good football team, I'd hate to see what a bad football team looks like. If the Falcons are a good football team, then what are the 85 Bears? The second coming of Jesus? There is no universe, not one, where a team that has lost 17 of their last 20 games and has the worst record in the league is good. If everyone is good, then no one is. As the letter continues, with a little positive reinforcement from the media and the fans, the players might be able to prove their true talents and abilities to the people of Atlanta. They cannot do well when they're expected to lose. What in the ever-loving Ted Lasso crap is that? The reason the Falcons are losing is because nobody believes in them. Of course. If people believe in the worst team in football to be good, then maybe some angels in the outfield will come and save them, or something like that. I don't even know anymore. You know why they're expected to lose? Here's an idea. Because they constantly lose. I can believe in them to win all I want, but it's not going to make a difference. I can believe that the Washington Generals can find it in their hearts to beat the Harlem Globetrotters, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen. There are many things wrong with the Falcons. I don't think people not believing in this team right here is the reason why they suck. Finally, the letter comes to an end, with the letter saying the Falcons are a fairly young team and need time to adjust to their new coaches and strategies. In order to produce wins, they need support. Are you just ignoring the fact that this is year 3? Maybe I'd buy this argument if this was year 1 and it was tough to learn Dan Henning's system right off the bat. But this is year 3. By year 3, if you don't have it and you're showing no signs of improvement and actually only getting worse, and you took over a darn good team that made the playoffs before you got there, you're probably toast. Look at the teams in the playoffs in 1985. Of the 10 teams to make the postseason, 9 of them had a coach who made it to the playoffs within their first 3 seasons as the head coach of the team. The only exception to that rule is Tom Landry, but he gets a pass because, number one, when he took over, only 2 teams in the NFL made it to the playoffs, and number 2, he took over a literal expansion team, a team that did not exist, and he still showed vast improvement from 1960 to 1962 when they had one of the top offenses in football. So of all the coaches in 1985 to make the playoffs, not counting those that took over expansion teams, all of them made it within their first 3 seasons. So this argument doesn't hold any water. So yeah, as you can tell, this letter to the editor sucks. This was a waste of ink. The arguments are flawed, they're not even factually correct, and the author misplaces the blame on random external forces that have nothing to do with what's taking place on the field. But okay, there are dumb fans all the time. Why am I focusing on a random letter to the editor of Atlanta's biggest publication? If I just responded to fan mail from dumb people, the channel would get stale, and it's not really diving into the weeds of NFL history like I want to do on this channel. So, why this letter? Well, this wasn't just any random person who wrote this letter. This wasn't just a random college student who wanted to vent his frustrations and wrote a letter while 3 beers in. Want to know who wrote the letter? Dan Henning's daughter. That's right, Terry Henning, as in the 17-year-old daughter of Dan Henning, this man right here, was the one who wrote this. Here was someone literally in the coach's family writing to tell people to back off, and that Dan is a good coach, and that everyone else is just being negative for no reason, and that their feelings are invalid. And look, I get wanting to stick up for your dad. I completely get it. You see your dad getting flamed in the media, and you're scared that he's going to get fired. And you see all the rumors, and you're worried that he's going to be out of a job, and you're going to have to move and potentially start all over. You might even be getting bullied in school because of your dad's performance. You see the toll that losing takes on him when he comes home from work every day. You see him spending so much time away from home so he can prepare for the game, and it fails every time. I get it. The human in me sympathizes with her. But holy crap, this might be the single dumbest way to go about it. What the heck did you think was gonna happen? You just made things worse for your dad. You tried to make things better, and now you've made things significantly worse because no one, not one person, is on your side for this one. And now you made it seem like the pressure is getting to your dad and that the fans suck for criticizing him. You just made your dad's life that much harder. And it'd be one thing if the media was being overly harsh to Henning and was crossing lines that should not be crossed. But after reading through a ton of articles published in the wake of Henning's string of losses, I couldn't find anything outside of normal football talk that is said about every coach. It's not like any writer was calling for him to get the guillotine or die. As one writer said, the Atlanta media has been far too kind to Henning. If this were anyone else, they would have crucified him by now. One columnist even said that the Falcons should keep Henning despite his 3-year record of 13-33. If that's a negative attitude, I'd hate to see a positive one. And as another fan wrote in, besides the obviously incorrect thing about not liking Barkowski, let's put the responsibility of winning and losing where it belongs. You have experienced this situation for 3 years, while many of us have dealt with it for the better part of 20 years. We are waiting for present field management to take this team to a higher level, as was promised 3 years ago. Has this promise been fulfilled? Which direction has this organization gone? Yep, that just about sums it up, because they've definitely gone backwards. Falcon fans had never seen their team make it to a conference championship, and had seen their team win just one playoff game up to this point. And in this fan's mind, for Terry to come in there and bash Falcons fans for being negative, and to tell them that Dan deserves no blame, and the blame belongs on the city, was ridiculously tone deaf. And I can't say I disagree there. As a Jaguars fan, if Liam Cohen's wife said that the team would be better if our fans didn't suck, I wouldn't take it so well. And for Terry Henning to expect Falcons fans to do the same was just so nonsensical that I can't believe, even at 17, without a fully developed frontal lobe, that she thought this would work and would get people to rally behind her dad. Maybe at 5 years old I could believe it, not 17. Somehow, this isn't even the only controversy in Falcons history involving a coach's kid doing something stupid and making their dad's life difficult, as Jeff Ulbrich has something to say about that. Surprisingly, Henning kept his job after the 1985 season and got a 4th season in 1986 to right the ship. Unsurprisingly, this turned out to be a massive mistake, as the Falcons, once again, finished with a losing record, missing the playoffs, at which point Henning would finally be fired. Somehow, he got a second chance as a head coach, taking the job with the San Diego Chargers in 1989, and unsurprisingly bombing there, going 16-32 in his 3 seasons with the team, meaning that he ended his NFL career with a record of 38, 73, and 1, winning just 34% of his games and being one of the worst coaches in NFL history to coach at least 7 seasons. Not once in his entire career did he finish at 500 or better. So to any family members of coaches who might be watching this video for whatever reason, if the coach goes on a losing streak or isn't doing his job, while I completely get wanting to be there for him, and while I completely get wanting to support him, try supporting him in any other way that is not this. Literally, do not do this. Do not do what Terry Henning did. Do not post it on Twitter. Do not send it in a letter to the editor. Do not publicize it. Do not get your facts incorrect and bash the fans for the fact that your loved one isn't a good coach and runs a god-awful team. It will only make things worse for your loved one. Because in 1985, Terry Henning's plea to rise up Red Sea was received like, "You've got to be kidding me." Check out our live streaming schedule for the next few days. We're live every single day on this channel, whether we're covering a sporting event or playing GeoGuessr or just taking your requests. So make sure you like and subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss a single time that we go live and so that you can join this community. Also, thanks to all our members and our Patreon supporters who get exclusive perks like their name of the end of each video, members-only Q&A streams, and cool emojis to use on videos and during streams. See how you can join this community and become a member or a Patreon member by clicking the link in the description below.